everybody. Welcome to El Pueblo Unido. My name is Ana Alvarez. I am joined by my lovely co-host, Marifer Vizcaíno, Alberto Reyes. We have a very packed episode today for you guys. Lots of important information. With everything happening, lots of heavy information. Just, a heads up to everybody. But we will have resources to help you all get through these difficult times. So I will leave to my lovely co-hosts to give a little snippets of what people can expect.
Yes, thank you,
Yes.
Anna. Hi, Marifer.
Hi, Alberta. How are you? I don't know
Good.
what she said. Lovely. I'm so sorry. I am so full of myself. I thought we.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell us some what can our listeners expect?
Of course. So we're going to start off strong with our special guest. We have attorney Patrick Adams, and attorney Pia Candotti. Patrick Adams will give us another story. Well, is joining us again to give us information about immigration, and what we're hearing now. What the trend's been since the last time we spoke to him. And then we have Pia Candotti, who is an estate and trust and wills attorney, but she also does parent guardianship. So she'll give us a little bit of information about all the documents, or most of the documents that are important in terms of protecting our properties, our kids, in case of any, God forbid, terrible scenario in these times. We're also going to have Jonathan and Adamari Arayas with you, right?
Yes, they are from an organization called Escuelitas. They are stepping up into their community to, as you mentioned, continue to provide information. They have done food drives. They have done Know Your Rights sessions along with GALEO. So it's a very packed episode with information. Our listeners will like to download and keep it listening more than once. But yeah.
And of course, we're going to have Dr. Tara Overzat with us, and Ponte las Pilas. And then La Pincha Política will have Councilwoman Erin Brumley.
Yeah.
Well, stick around because El Pueblo Unido will be right back.
And we're back, everyone, to our section, Lo que nos importa. So, again, a lot of stuff have happened, but we have the highlight of February, which it was the Latino Day at the Capitol, everyone. Woo! Raise the roof.
Yeah, I mean, it was my first Latino Day at the Capitol, and it was amazing. Thank you to everybody who joined us. And thank you to everybody that continues to support all of our events and initiatives. And for more information on Latino Day at the Capitol and other events on how to support the Latino community in GALEO, just follow us on our socials, as we always you can do. So yeah.
Yes. And this month, we've seen a lot of action in terms of our community, our advocacy groups, and it's hitting the youth. I feel so old saying that, but our high school students.
Yeah, these 18-year-olds, all they don't know. No, thank you everyone who participated in the high school walkouts.
Definitely, and we've seen them all across Metro Atlanta and Georgia, and they just provide so much hope and resilience to our communities. So if you are watching this and you're a high school student, and you're protesting or any way of advocacy that you're showing up for our community, thank you so much. You have no idea how much that impacts, what you're doing impacts us.
Yes, very motivational. And if you need to connect with other high schools, or you plan to have ideas, you can reach out again to our socials. We can direct you to resources or make connections that can continue the momentum going, just because Georgia and our nation are continue suffering from some of what's happening. But as we've been saying over and over, we're all this together, and Pueblo Unido continue to be stronger and protesting, sharing all the correct information that's happening.
Thank you to everybody for standing up and for supporting our community in any way possible. And as we'll continue our podcast today, we'll have many more resources for ways to get involved, but also for ways to help yourselves in these very difficult times. So with that, El Pueblo Unido will be right back.
And welcome to Ponte las Pilas. We know that with everything we've heard today, the reality of everything going on, everything is heavy. We know it's important for our community to take care of each other and ourselves, especially the individual, mental health, and taking a break, having a reprieve from everything. So with that being said, I want to welcome Dr. Tara Abrazat with us. She is a trauma therapist, educator, and community advocate. Welcome, Dr. Tara. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you started off in your career?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. It's really an honor. Sure. So I'm Dr. Tara Overzet, like Marifa mentioned. I'm a trauma therapist, educator. I'm active in the community as an advocate. And the way I got started with all that, I didn't initially think I was going to be a therapist. I wasn't one of those kids who was like, oh, I know what I want to be when I grow up. So I went to school. I actually studied pre-law for a long time and then decided I didn't want to go into the law. At the time, I was like, trial law doesn't interest me. Business law doesn't interest me. So I kind of floated around for a few years, tried a few different things. And then one day I was talking to a therapist who said, you could be a therapist. And that kind of got me started with learning more about what that would be like. And so I got my master's, and because I'm a glutton for punishment, I got my PhD as well. And I've been working as a therapist now for almost 15 years.
Wow. I feel like I had a similar track. I wanted to be a lawyer. I was like, this isn't for me. Now I have a master's in public admin.
Oh, amazing.
So going a little bit more into the mental health, can you talk a little bit about the stigma around mental health in the Latino community, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So my mother and her family are Puerto Rican, and I know growing up, we didn't talk about mental health. If someone was feeling off, they're just feeling, they're just having a hard day, and you don't really actually get to the root of what's going on. And then talking to other people from the Latino community, from the African American community, Asian community, there's just this trend of, we've been through a lot of struggle and we don't share that. We don't really talk about that openly, especially not with people we don't know. So I've been really gratified, I guess to say, to see a lot more people of color become therapists, people who represent their communities, who already have some of that trust. You can sit with a therapist and know, okay, we have something in common. They understand where I'm coming from when I say this, and they're not going to think that it's weird when I talk about how my family is, or the way we celebrate holidays, or our language, or anything like that. I've been meeting more and more bilingual therapists, especially who speak Spanish and English. And that's been very helpful too, because we know when you're talking about difficult things, we usually go back to our native language. The language we first learned when we were little is how that comes out. So having a therapist that speaks Spanish can be very helpful, even if you're fully fluent in English, because they can kind of switch with you as you need to switch, talking about these different things. But the stigma is real, and it's unfortunately earned. I've also met a lot of therapists who do not understand other cultures. And so when someone's sitting across from them, the whole session becomes, well, teach me about your culture. And that's not what the client's paying you for. The client wants to actually get help with their issues.
That's so interesting. And I hadn't thought about, looking for a therapist in your same native language in terms of that, understanding that culture. I would understanding the culture, but not the language. Interesting.
Same. I feel like I switched to like, I don't speak well in one language, I'll speak one another. I could go back and forth with a therapist. But thank you. So as I mentioned, our community is going through a lot right now. And I've seen many quotes where it says, we're surviving, not thriving. So can we talk a little bit about the basics of what that means? Can you tell us what the signs of maybe burnout, anxiety, or depression are?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And part of it too, I want to say in the times we're living in, we're under constant trauma. And some folks in the community even more so. If you're always having to worry when you leave your front door, if you're going to be back to your family that evening, that is a trauma that goes throughout your day and causes, like you're saying, Marifer, burnout, anxiety, depression, and all those things. So some signs of burnout is you start to lose hope for the future. You feel like anything I do today, it doesn't really matter. And that's a beginning sign of, okay, we're having an emotional crisis, because what we do still matters, it even matters more now in light of all the crises going on. With anxiety, it might be that you're more on edge than usual. You might have thoughts that keep looping, that you keep thinking about over and over. You might be very worried. And of course, there's a difference between, just we don't pathologize it, medicalize it, actual anxiety that is warranted in these times versus anxiety so high that you cannot function. So if you find yourself worrying, 20 times an hour about your family, you're not going to be able to function. Like you said, you're surviving, not thriving. So finding a happy medium there. And with depression, classic signs, difficulty getting out of bed in the morning, difficulty doing different activities, feeling like no one cares about you, or feeling a sense of guilt that's not earned. Just like I'm such a burden on people. So if you start feeling those things very frequently, talking to someone can definitely help.
Thank you. I really and I really also appreciate the distinction between, it's understandable to have some anxiety, being hyper vigilant in the situations that we are right now, but anxiety to the point of being unhealthy is something very different. Going a little bit more into the stigma. Older generations of Latinos might be skeptical when talking about mental health. As I mentioned, it's no secret that the topic is taboo among our community. How can younger generations, because, mental health is spoken a little bit more now, the conversation around mental health has become more normal now. I mean, we're doing this section right now in the podcast. So how can younger generations approach the subject with their families to ensure that they take care of themselves?
Yeah, I think part of breaking the stigma is normalizing therapy. So I think within reason, because every family situation is different, if younger folks can say, yeah, I saw my therapist last week and XYZ, then that starts the conversation going, versus not knowing anyone who's ever been in therapy. Because the truth is, a lot of us know folks who've been in therapy, or, and then also letting people know that a lot of it is just finding a safe place to talk about what's happening. It's not about, and this, I could go on a whole tangent about the medicalization of therapy, but there's still a lot of us who actually focus on, let's talk through things, let's help you process things so that it feels less heavy when you leave the office or leave the virtual telehealth session. So I would say if you're having difficulty talking to family members, or you feel like an older family member could benefit from therapy, but they're not quite there yet, sharing success stories or sharing what it was like for you or someone to go through therapy can be helpful. I'm also a big fan of pastoral counseling. There's a lot of folks that work through churches. They either are with the staff of the church or they volunteer their time as therapists who are in that faith to give sessions for free to congregants. And that can be a nice, easy segue too, because it has that religious, cultural piece with the therapy altogether.
That's a good idea. I might know some people who could benefit from festival therapy, or at least would work well with them.
Yeah.
And can we go a little bit into, again, on anxiety and depression? What are some tips to reduce that anxiety and depression, and especially in a moment where it seems like we can't escape what is going on? You know, there's some people have the privilege to remove themselves, and others don't. They're living in that situation every day. So how can we manage our anxiety, our depression?
Absolutely. So grounding activities can be very helpful. One is called the 5-4-3-2-1, where you notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch. And I can drop this into the podcast later too, the different worksheets for all this. And just to kind of orient yourself to the space that you're actually in. Brief meditations can help. So just closing your eyes and taking some deep breaths. And the way you breathe can be helpful too. So when I say a deep breath, it's in through the nose, hold for a moment, and out through the mouth. And doing that 2 or 3 times in a row kind of slows down your body, slows down your mind. And you can do that sort of deep breathing and imagine a place that feels safe for you. A mountain, a beach, a park. And when you imagine that safe place, it can be really helpful to just imagine yourself in it and not imagine friends and family. And the reason for that is if you had an argument with your mom this morning and your mom features in your safe place, it's not going to feel very relaxing. And so activities like that, making sure you are tending to your needs, right? Have you drank water today? When was the last time you ate? How are you sleeping? Because all of that is going to impact the rest of your day. And I'll throw in a last one too. And this one I could demonstrate for you briefly. And it's called a butterfly hug. And what a butterfly hug is, and I know it might not quite show on camera, but you take your hands and you kind of put your thumbs like this, and then you place it on your chest, just under your clavicle. And you kind of tap slowly. 1, 2, 1, 2, back and forth. And you want to make sure it's slow. If it goes quickly, it can be a little too activating. But doing that slow tap and thinking of something pleasant can really help your brain to kind of relax and soothe, self-soothe for a bit.
Thank you. I'm going to use that. I feel like there are situations where I need to be calmed down a little bit, and I also need to drink water.
And
So,
eat.
oh yeah, I'm known for skipping breakfast.
Oh,
She did say eat. She did say eat.
it's the most important meal of the day.
It is, nice coffee's breakfast for me. But we know it can be a little difficult to seek mental health, either for that taboo stigma aspect that we spoke about earlier, or even socioeconomic struggles. So if we are feeling depressed because of whatever situation that we are in, how can we find ourselves or take ourselves out of the dark space that we're feeling?
Yeah. So, and I hear what you're saying, that is hard to access mental health care, especially right now in Georgia. There's been all sorts of cuts and grant funding isn't what it used to be. So I would say if it's barring that, right? If you find yourself thinking a lot of terrible thoughts about yourself, about the world, especially that guilt I mentioned, that's not deserved guilt. It's just you feel like you're a burden. You have to find ways to kind of stop the thought. And that doesn't mean that we're changing reality or saying like, oh, it's not so bad. I think one of the most demoralizing things you can say to somebody who's struggling with depression is, oh, cheer up. Yeah, if it was that easy, they would have cheered up already,
Right.
So what we want to do is, as the individual themselves, is find something to do. I think that behavioral activation helps. So if there's something that you enjoy, knitting, crocheting, I'm really thinking things with the hands. So arts and crafts, playing with your pet, your dog, your cat, to kind of like give your brain a break from the rumination, the thinking over and over about the negative thoughts can be helpful. Staying connected to community too, because a big thing with depression is you start to isolate. So you might
Mm.
notice whether in yourself or a friend or family member, I used to see Jose around a lot, and now I don't really see him around. You know, you might want to check on them to see what's going on. It might be that they're busy, or it might be that they're not really talking to anyone right now. So you want to make sure you stay with those healthy friendships, healthy community relationships, and find ways to get engaged.
Definitely.
And thank you. I think my dog heard you that you were gonna say play with your dog, and he was like, me. Um, so you talked a little bit about tips to decrease that anxiety that is inescapable in these moments. Uh, you know, and you talked a little bit, I really like the butterfly exercise, but I was wondering if you could guide us and our audience through a breathing exercise that people could do at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we could do one progressive muscle relaxation with the breathing, if that's okay with y'all. It might take about a minute or so.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fantastic. So get yourself in a calm, seated position. Close your eyes if you feel safe and comfortable to do so. And we'll start with a deep breath. And a deep breath is just in through the nose, hold, and out through the mouth. And let's do another one. Take a deep breath. Good. Now I'd like you to start by scrunching up your feet as tight as you can. Hold that pose and then relax your feet. Take a deep breath. Now scrunch up the muscles in your calves. Hold that pose and release. Take a deep breath. Now, as we move our way up our bodies, go ahead and scrunch up your hands really tight. Hold that pose and release. Take a deep breath. Next, scrunch up those shoulders real high, up to your ears. Hold that pose and release. Take a deep breath. Last, scrunch up your face. Hold that pose and release. Take another deep breath. And let's take one last deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and rejoin the room.
That was amazing.
It was.
I'm glad.
Feel that tension leave.
Mhm.
Yes. And I think the great thing about breathing exercises is not having to have a specific space, because it's just you with your breathing. Because sometimes, houses are crowded with noise or with people, or, you don't have just the space to do so. So I think a breathing exercise would be great. So I hopefully the people at home were able to do the breathing exercises with us, and continue doing so. I know I will continue doing so. And any, in a sense, parting words of wisdom for people who are struggling in these times, whether with burnout, anxiety, depression, or all of them at the same time.
Yeah. So keep going. Find your community, reach out to people, and know that together we can make things a lot better.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tara Overzat. I think everyone, even back in production, our director enjoyed it. I know Anna and I did. And we want to make sure that our audience knows how to reach you. Could you tell us how they can get in touch with you, either through email, phone number, socials?
Sure, absolutely. So on Instagram, I'm at Overzat, just my last name, at Overzat. And as far as if you're looking for therapy services, my website is gettingoverzat.com.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much. And people can see your last name on the screen, so hopefully people are writing it down. But we can't thank you enough for your time. You have a very calming presence, and I think it just calmed us collectively here at the podcast, and hopefully it did at home to our audience. And thank you so much for your wisdom. I know, as we mentioned, you know, we didn't talk about mental health, but I'm glad mental health conversations are on the table right now, and hopefully they never go away. Thank you so much for your time and for guiding us to the breathing exercises. I hope you have a very lovely rest of your day, and El Pueblo Unido will be right back. Welcome back to El Pueblo Unido. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we have attorney Patrick Adams, who we also want to firstly recognize as a new member of our Street C3 board. So welcome to the board, Patrick. Thank you so much for your continued partnership and your continued support of our organization.
Yeah.
And you've also been on the show before. But you know, a lot has transpired since you were last on the show. So before we get into it, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. I'm an immigration attorney. I'm the principal immigration attorney here at Adams Law in downtown Atlanta. We focus on removal proceedings, defensive cases, humanitarian, family-based, affirmative cases, all types of immigration law. We practice here in Georgia. We cover Folkestone Detention Center and Stewart Detention Center cases as well. We can handle immigration cases in all 50 states, but most of our clients are here in the Southeast, of course. So we're here working hard to try and defend the immigrant community in Georgia from a system that is increasingly difficult to navigate.
Absolutely. And we see that every day. Thank you so much for your advocacy and work for our community. And it's also clear to us that ICE has escalated their tactics in the past 12 months, especially since we last saw you, which was more the last time we talked on the show. It was more Know Your Rights focused. But we see videos of ICE entering private property without judicial warrant, obvious racial profiling, and unfortunately, as we've seen in the past few weeks, deadly force. So what can we do, if anything, to continue to protect ourselves in public? And what resources do we have if our rights are being violated?
Well, first, the Constitution of the United States has not changed. Just because we have this administration currently who is absolutely violating due process rights of immigrants and even U.S. citizens all over the United States. Particularly, we're seeing it here in Georgia and the Southeast as well. The Constitution and your constitutional rights still exist. You still have a right to remain silent. You still have a right not to consent to searches. You still have a right not to open the door to your home without the officer showing you a judicial warrant, not an administrative warrant. Of course, we know from watching the news, and I see it every day, ICE has been instructed by their superiors not to worry about those constitutional rights. Just ignore them.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you should just consent to them violating your rights. You should continue to defend your rights, to tell them that you are invoking your right to remain silent. Tell them that you are not requesting or not granting them permission to enter your home without a judicial warrant. They may very well do it anyway. And don't get physical, of course, with them. Don't escalate the situation, but make sure, if possible, to record, remember, jot down, have somebody, pull out their cell phone and record the what's transpiring, so that the immigration attorney later can use that information to help you in immigration court. It's still being recognized. All of these due process rights are still being recognized by federal district courts in the area. It's just DHS and immigration court, EOIR, that are ignoring them.
Okay. Okay.
You,
And Matt,
you still have a right to force them to exercise due process. It's just about whether they're going to do it. But that is going to be important when we get to court for your immigration case. If they do decide just to blow through all of those due process rights and you have properly invoked them, then we can use that to get rid of evidence, get rid of the charges, even terminate your case, as long as evidence that you did.
I had no idea that was a thing. So I'm assuming the best advice you could provide if one were to be in a situation like that is to continuously record and document, to the best of their abilities.
Absolutely. And if there are witnesses, make sure that those witnesses are willing to write statements, affidavits, explaining that counts as evidence in court as well.
Marifer, should we translate this information for people who may not speak Spanish, may not speak English, which could really benefit from this information as well? Really quickly.
And I think it's clear I'm the no sabo in the room. Please take it away.
No, I was just gonna, simplemente quiero traducir un poco lo que estaba diciendo nuestro abogado. Básicamente, independientemente de todo lo que está pasando, sus derechos siguen vigentes. Ustedes tienen derechos dentro de la Constitución. Y en caso de que lo detengan y se utilice fuerza, pídanle a alguien que grabe todo lo que está pasando, ya que sus abogados lo pueden utilizar como evidencia en su caso. Además, si hay testigos, pídanle a estos testigos que escriban todo lo que está pasando en ese momento, porque toda esa información puede ser útil para sus abogados en el momento de ir a corte con su caso.
Wonderful. So much more better than what I
No firman documentos que no entiendan nunca, por favor. Eso estoy viendo a veces también, que la gente están firmando documentos presentados por ICE y que nunca, jamás debe firmar documentos que no entiendan. ICE no es tu amigo.
So we've seen, hemos visto que en Georgia se encuentra ahora entre los 5 estados con el mayor número de arrestos de ICE. ¿Qué tendencias ha observado en Georgia o al menos en el área metropolitana de Atlanta con sus casos, por ejemplo?
Ajá, sí. Es que ahorita el problema con ICE es, normalmente lo que pasa es que alguien está arrestado por la policía por algo pequeña, como la luz de tu coche o algo, o manejar sin licencia, algo así. Y de ahí lo están mandando a ICE detention, al centro de detención de inmigración. Eso es la mayoría de los casos. También a veces lo que estoy viendo es cuando alguien va a su ICE check-in para hacer los check-ins de ICE, a veces ICE está deteniendo a las personas en su propio ICE check-in.
Ujú.
Entonces eso a veces estamos viendo. También los abogados del gobierno en Corte de Inmigración ya están haciendo mociones para negar la aplicación de defensa, por ejemplo, asilo. Están viendo que no metió su caso de asilo entre un año. Entonces lo están poniendo moción para terminar el caso y para poner un orden de deportación. Están siendo mucho más agresivos que antes y ellos saben que ya cuando alguien está detenido por ICE, las fechas de corte van súper rápido. A veces ponen a la corte final entre un mes cuando alguien está detenido. Y para comparecer nuevamente, el corte final está programado por, ahorita estoy recibiendo fecha de corte en 2030. Entonces, en 4 años. Pero mientras tanto, ahí se está deteniendo a las personas y se mueve todo el sistema mucho más rápido mientras está detenido por ahí.
Pero no hemos visto casos parecidos a lo que estamos viendo en Minneapolis, donde están deteniendo y arrestando a
Todavía no, gracias a Dios. No, todavía no.
Eso es un alivio, por ahorita por lo menos, saber que tenemos lo que
Pero
se...
ahí aquí en Atlanta recibió como 10 o 15 SUVs.
Ujú, sí.
Entonces eso para mí es un omen, un mal omen.
Una bandera roja.
Red flag, directo.
Y tocó el tema de la Corte de Inmigración. Antes, o por lo menos yo trabajando con ustedes y mi experiencia con inmigración, la Corte de Inmigración era como un alivio a veces, ayudaba a los que estaban detenidos, por lo menos en años anteriores. ¿Ha habido cambios en la forma en que la Corte está resolviendo los casos ahora?
Sí, lastimosamente sí. Ahorita todo la sistema ya cambió por lo mal. Que hasta los jueces de inmigración ya estamos viendo que ellos tienen sus direcciones, sus like their incentive cambiaron por su jefe. Entonces, ahorita hay menos honestidad, hay menos integrity
Sí.
con los jueces de inmigración. Por ejemplo, hace una semana fui a un corte de fianza, un bond en Stewart Detention Facility. Según un orden del corte distrito de la sistema federal, el corte federal de habeas, el corte federal mandó a la corte de inmigración que ellos sí tienen jurisdicción, tienen el poder para hacer una decisión sobre afianza.
Mm.
Pero fuimos al corte y la jueza no leyó, no escuchó nada, no leyó ningún documento ni evidencia, no vio nada del caso que estábamos peleando. Solamente negó el caso por flight risk. Era una decisión ridícula y obviamente no escuchó, no hizo caso al argumento. Entonces fue una decisión completamente arbitrary. Y lastimosamente estamos viendo eso más y más seguido. Los jueces de inmigración tienen sus órdenes del Attorney General o quien sea, y solamente están negando cases porque es su trabajo, negar casos.
Y eso lo vemos en todos los o sea, en todos tipos de casos. O
En todos tipos de casos. Realmente asilo, ahorita cuando veo un caso de asilo que tiene su audiencia pronto, realmente pensamos en la defensa de salida voluntaria, porque es mejor que un orden de deportación. O digo a la persona que realmente vamos a tener que apelar a este caso, porque el BIA o los cortes federales en apelación, sí, ellos están tomando en caso el argumento legal. Y ellos están tomando decisiones con integridad todavía, pero los jueces de inmigración aquí de Atlanta, ahorita estoy viendo que no importa la evidencia en tu caso, no importa lo que tenés como de argumento, familia, que son ciudadanos aquí en los Estados Unidos, eso anteriormente ayudó en los casos de inmigración. Ahorita, menos.
Sabemos que el tiempo es crucial al contratar a un abogado. ¿Qué documentos deberían tener listos los miembros de la comunidad para que usted y otros abogados puedan ser lo más eficiente posible al defender sus casos?
Sí, deben de traer cualquier documento de cualquier proceso inmigratorio que ya existe. Por ejemplo, tengo clientes que tienen un I-130, una petición de algún familiar ciudadano, pues desde 10 años aprobado, pero nunca metieron el perdón para salir y entrar de nuevo, para cambiar su estatus. Entonces, en este caso, sí, cualquier abogado de inmigración va a necesitar todos los documentos, guarden los documentos y pues siempre tenés derecho de pedir sus documentos, su archivo del abogado de inmigración anterior que tuvo también. A veces las personas no saben que tienen derecho de su archivo en cualquier momento. Otra cosa, todos los inmigrantes en los Estados Unidos, no importa qué estatus tenés, si no eres ciudadano en los Estados Unidos, para su seguridad, debe tener una relación con un abogado de inmigración. No cuesta nada para guardar sus documentos electrónicamente en mi sistema, por ejemplo. Y en el momento que algo pasa o algo cambia y nadie tiene acceso a sus documentos de inmigración, los recibos, las noticias, tu número A, copias de tu pasaporte, copias de tu acta de nacimiento. Si nadie tiene acceso a esos documentos, es casi imposible defenderte en procedimientos de deportación. Entonces es súper importante tener una relación con un abogado de inmigración, tener firmado un formulario G28, G28 form, con anticipación.
Sí, como que lo vemos en pantalla, ¿verdad?
Exacto. Si tenés este documento, el abogado luego puede usar este documento para representarte y para pedir todo el archivo, el FOIA request.
Quizás sea algo un poco conocido para personas, pero quizás no sea conocido para otras. ¿Puede explicar qué es un formulario G28?
Es una noticia para meter su apariencia como el representante. Es permiso de ser tu abogado en procedimientos de deportación, en procedimientos afirmativas con CBP, con UCIs.
Sir.
Ujú,
Ok. En otras palabras, está dando permiso a tu abogado que te represente dentro de
claro.
esas identidades. Ujú.
Permiso de, sí.
Y gracias por la traducción, porque yo soy de esas personas que no sabía qué significaba el documento, así que también pregunté por mí que no sabía qué era el
Claro.
documento.
Sí, tenés razón.
Eh, Luego de todo esto que hemos hablado, que hay mucha información muy importante que esperamos que nuestra audiencia se lleve con ellos, ¿cuál es su mensaje final para la comunidad inmigrante?
Es que ahorita, sí, esos tiempos ya son, ya, es difícil. Y yo sé que todos tienen miedo y en un parte sí debes tener un poco de cuidado, definitivamente. Más ahora que antes. Pero el sistema legal en los Estados Unidos siempre ha funcionado antes y sí hemos tenido presidentes malas anteriormente en la historia de los Estados Unidos. Pero tenemos fe en el sistema legal de los Estados Unidos todavía. Por el momento tenemos fe. Y
Bastante poder.
la Constitución de los Estados Unidos, los derechos humanitarios de cada persona en los Estados Unidos, sí es válido, sí es legal. No importa que una agencia de los Estados Unidos está como avoiding or ignoring los derechos constitucionales que tenga cualquier persona en los Estados Unidos. Hay una respuesta siempre, hay una manera siempre en el sistema legal. Los cortes federales siempre tienen, pues más o menos, normalmente tienen la ley bien claro. Yo sé que ICE, DHS y los cortes de inmigración ya no tienen este integrity, pero todavía hay un sistema, hay leyes y ellos van a tener que responder para lo que están haciendo ahorita. En el futuro, cuando ya cambiamos de presidente, ojalá pronto, los oficiales de ICE que están rompiendo los derechos de las personas, pues en Georgia, en los Estados Unidos, ellos van a tener que responder por eso.
Sí, gracias. Y muchas gracias por toda la información que nos dio hoy. Cosas que a lo personal yo aprendí algo nuevo. Pues creo que no quiero hablar por Ana, pero basado en sus reacciones también. Estamos aprendiendo juntos y más importante, estamos educando a la comunidad. Antes de que se vaya, ¿nos puede dar información sobre cómo, si alguien de que está escuchando a nuestra audiencia puede contactarse con usted o alguien en su oficina?
Ajá, sí, claro. Mi oficina se llama Adams Law. Quedamos aquí en Peachtree Center, en Downtown Atlanta. Nos puede llamar a 404-912-8244. Nos puede mandar un correo electrónico en Patrick, mi nombre, PATRICK, @atlantaimmigration.law. Y si damos citas de 15 minutos por teléfono gratis, entonces si tenés solamente una duda, una pregunta, nos puede llamar, nos puede hacer una cita completamente gratis y te puedo explicar lo que debes de hacer para ayudar en tu caso.
Gracias, Patrick. Y esos 15 minutos, he escuchado a gente que le ha hablado y usted le ha dado claridad o por lo menos dirección para sus casos y es y lo está haciendo completamente gratis por el beneficio de la comunidad. Bueno, muchas gracias otra vez, Patrick. Espero que tenga buen día y nos vamos a muy pronto vernos por ser miembro de nuestra mesa ejecutiva de GALEO. Y ahorita regresamos con el Pueblo Unido.
Gracias.
Hola, hola, gracias por acompañarnos en el Pueblo Unido. Ahora tenemos a la licenciada Pia Candotti para continuar nuestras conversaciones sobre todo lo que está pasando con inmigración en Estados Unidos y cómo prepararnos los latinos y todos los inmigrantes en caso de una situación difícil. Hola Pia, muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Para comenzar, ¿podrías contarnos un poco sobre ti y a qué te dedicas?
Bueno, buenos días. Siempre un gusto estar acá participando con GALEO. Bueno, mi nombre es Pia Candotti. Como bien me presentó Ana, soy abogada, abogada licenciada en Argentina y en Estados Unidos. Ya hace 17 años que ejerzo abogacía. En los últimos 10 años me dediqué exclusivamente a lo que es la planificación sucesoria, lo que son juicios sucesorios, o sea, cómo proteger legalmente a las familias, a los bienes que tenemos, a los negocios. Especialmente mi práctica se dedica a la comunidad inmigrante. Tenemos un grupo de abogados también licenciados en otros países y también, bueno, en el proceso de licenciarse en Georgia. Y somos todas inmigrantes o tenemos alguna conexión con los inmigrantes. Así que culturalmente entendemos de dónde vienen ciertos desafíos que tenemos como comunidad. También culturalmente entendemos cómo la comunidad no quiere hablar de temas que son difíciles y que suelen procrastinar, suelen retrasar este tipo de planificación. Entonces, me gusta mucho estar involucrada en este tipo de eventos para generar conciencia y educación. Gracias.
Gracias.
Y por eso se nos hizo importante invitarlo a nuestro show y ha trabajado con nosotros previamente, sea por el webinar que tuvimos el año pasado o el summit hace 2 años. Pero quería preguntar, dado que nuestra comunidad sigue sufriendo a manos de ICE, veremos cada vez más casos de niños que quedan desamparados sin tutores legales. ¿Y qué es un tutor legal? ¿Y qué le sucede a esos niños si no se establece una tutela legal con anticipación?
Perfecto, eso es muy importante. Justo este sábado estuve dando una presentación que se hace anual, lo que nos preocupa a la comunidad, y lo hice el año pasado a la misma fecha. Y lamentablemente este último año, como todos sabemos, la situación se agravó. Vengo hablando de planificación y de hacer estos documentos, que ya voy a responder, desde hace más de un año, pero ahora con mayor conciencia quiero, bueno, hablar de la importancia de este documento específicamente que me están preguntando. ¿Qué es un tutor legal? Es la persona que tiene la autoridad legal para cuidar y tomar decisiones por un menor cuando los padres no pueden hacerlo. Cuando estoy hablando de un menor de edad en Georgia, son menores de 18 años. Entonces, si no existe una tutela legal o un poder para el cuidado de menores preparada con anticipación, ¿qué pasa? Los papás no llegan a la escuela, no los pueden buscar a los niños o quedan por alguna situación, hay deportación, se tienen que ir del país, el Estado tiene que intervenir, ¿sí? Entonces se llama a lo que es un social worker y esos niños quedan bajo cuidado estatal. Entonces, ¿cómo podemos evitar eso? Hay un documento que se llama el Acta Poder, o sea, el Poder para el Cuidado de Menores de Edad. Es un documento que los padres otorgan la custodia temporal, esto tiene un plazo de 1 año, en caso de que ellos no puedan cuidar de los hijos, ¿sí? Entonces, ¿Qué se evita con ese documento? Designamos un guardián y en caso de una emergencia, ese guardián puede actuar transitoriamente por un año. Si es un abuelo o abuela biológico, es ilimitadamente, no hay plazo. Pero si es una persona que no sea abuelos, pueden actuar por un año con eso representando, actuando como actuarían los padres, con autoridad legal para cuidar y tomar decisiones del menor hasta que se pueda, uy, me estoy escuchando, pero hasta que se pueda definir la situación. ¿Qué hacer con el niño? Si se lo van a llevar con los padres, con quién se queda, si vamos a ir a corte a pedir una custodia temporal, etcétera.
Y rápidamente, ¿me puede decir cómo se dice en inglés para los que están buscando esa traducción? ¿Es el legal guardianship?
Se llama Power of Attorney for the Care of Minors.
Ok.
Pueden llamar a mi oficina, nosotros los hacemos en forma gratuita o los enviamos porque se están haciendo 2 veces al mes. Una fundación lo está haciendo gratuito en el Consulado de México. Entonces pueden llamar y nosotros le vamos a dar las fechas en donde van a estar esta fundación actuando, o sea, sirviendo, creando estos poderes en el Consulado de México y está abierto al público, no necesariamente a mexicanos.
Wow, ok. Para tener también esa información lista en nuestra página y recursos para compartir esa información con nuestra audiencia.
Sí, perfecto. No se está publicando por razones obvias, pero vienen desde varios meses ya con una fecha definida 2 veces al mes. Yo puedo compartir esa información.
Muchas gracias, Pia. Y cambiando de tema a lo que es propiedad, si una persona está detenida o está deportada, ¿cómo puede proteger sus propiedades como sus casas, terrenos o incluso sus automóviles? ¿Qué pasa con sus cuentas bancarias, etcétera?
Bueno, lo más importante, la clave acá es planificación previa, ¿sí? Porque estuve resolviendo muchos problemas, incluso con algunos consulados, cuando no hay una planificación. Entonces, se nos limitan las herramientas legales que tenemos. No tenemos tantas estrategias cuando ya existió la emergencia. Si ya están en un centro de detención o si ya fueron repatriados al país de origen. Entonces, de nuevo, la clave es planificación previa. Hay varias herramientas legales. Una de ellas, por ejemplo, es un poder amplio de administración y disposición, o por ejemplo, si tienen una propiedad, tengo una casa, ya está pagada, bueno, hagamos un poder específico para ventas si eso es lo que quieren hacer. Si los dueños llegan a estar, tienen que dejar el país, bueno, pueden dejar un poder para que, por ejemplo, sus hijos o una persona que confían 100% a pleno, pueda actuar como agente y así poder administrar los bienes, o sea, ir al banco, acceder a las cuentas bancarias, vender la propiedad, los carros, etc. Eso es una herramienta. Sin embargo, hay que tener cuidado con los poderes, porque mucha gente de nuestra comunidad dice, se lo voy a dejar a mi cuñada, o lo que voy a hacer es que voy a nombrar a esta persona, una vecina mía que tiene estatus legal, o toda mi familia está en la misma situación. Y la verdad es que el poder se puede prestar a muchos abusos. Cuando nos damos cuenta de que existen esos abusos, ya las cuentas bancarias están vacías, ya se hizo un daño, podemos ir a corte y revocar el poder, pero ya es muy difícil retractar ese daño que existe. Entonces, si no tenemos esa persona de plena confianza, lo que vamos a hacer es pensar en otro tipo de estrategias que sí existe, que se llama, por ejemplo, hacer un fideicomiso. No las puedo ver, pero si tienen acá están. Si tienen preguntas, ahí está. Si tienen preguntas, ustedes me van interrumpiendo. Pero bueno, hay una estrategia. Entonces tenemos los poderes, están los fideicomisos, los famosos trusts. Lo que podemos hacer es mandar negocios ahí. Y también pequeñas cositas para organizar, por ejemplo, dar acceso a una cuenta bancaria a uno de los hijos que confíen mucho. También pequeños detalles como que si la casa tiene hipoteca, asegurarnos de que los pagos continúen, ¿sí? En caso de que nos pase, tengamos que regresar a nuestro país de origen. Entonces, hay estrategias, pero de nuevo, como venía empezando, depende de hacerlo previamente. Planificación previa es lo que asegura que sea un plan exitoso. Y una cosita que veo mucho en la comunidad, quieren agregar a los hijos en los títulos de propiedad. O no solamente a los hijos que tienen estatus legal, pero dicen, la voy a poner a mi cuñada, que ella ya es ciudadana. Ojo con eso. Ojo con eso, porque si la cuñada se divorcia, está en un accidente de carro, la casa queda en peligro, ¿sí? Entonces, mucho cuidado con agregar personas a los títulos de propiedad como dueños de las casas.
Eh, muchas, muchas gracias, Pia. Y ya establecimos que es muy importante tener esa planificación previa en ambas situaciones, tanto, ¿verdad? Quién cuidaría de nuestros hijos y qué pasaría con todos nuestros bienes. Ahora, pues, yo tengo dos preguntas, como quien dice, follow-up. Uno, ¿qué requisitos hay para que una persona pueda ser tutor legal de un niño? Y dos, ¿quién puede actuar como apoderado en caso de que pues, no haya alguien, ese alguien de confianza, en este caso pues, de los bienes materiales, por ponerlo así?
Ujú. Entonces, para actuar como, como tutor legal de los menores de edad, puede ser un familiar extendido, puede ser un amigo cercano. En algunos casos hay organizaciones o profesionales que tienen límites muy claros que pueden actuar. Yo entiendo que uno de los grandes desafíos que tiene la comunidad es que quizás la mayoría de la familia extendida están en la misma situación de inestable con el estatus legal. Entonces, muchas veces son los amigos cercanos, los que sirven como tutores de los menores. Lo que tiene este documento es que hay que declarar que los padres hicieron un chequeo de los antecedentes penales o que omitieron hacerlo. O sea, esa es una declaración que hacen los padres en el documento que es estándar y eso asusta un poquito cuando estamos designando un tutor legal. Por ejemplo, voy a dar ejemplos porque así es más fácil. Hay una maestra en Fulton que iba a servir de tutora de una familia que no tenían un estatus estable, entonces legal estable, entonces había niñitos menores de edad y la maestra se ofreció a servir como tutor legal, pero al leer el documento se asustó porque básicamente lo que el documento dice es que al no ser un familiar, bueno, se le hizo un background check, no se encontró ningún delito en contra de menores y que si hay un delito, si hay un incluso delito menor, hay que detallar cuál. Entonces eso hace que las personas que sirvan como tutores, que no son muy cercanos a nosotros, se asusten un poco. Sin embargo, ese es el documento, hay que hacerlo y los padres pueden eximir, o sea, pueden decir, lo hice. Siempre es bueno designar a alguien haciendo un background check si vamos a dejar a nuestros hijos, pero bueno, eso es un documento estándar que hay que completar y una declaración que los padres están haciendo en el documento de que ellos hicieron ese trámite. Cuando no es un familiar extendido, estoy hablando. Entonces, resumiendo, ¿quién puede ser un tutor legal? Puede ser un familiar extendido, muy, muy, muy común en nuestra comunidad, un amigo que tiene estatus legal. Nosotros los inmigrantes, los latinos, creamos lazos de amistad tan fuertes como los familiares. Entonces, a veces nuestros amigos pueden servir como guardianes legales de nuestros hijos. Y bueno, y en algunos casos, organizaciones. Lo importante no es dejar el espacio vacío. Lo importante no es, yo siempre les digo, no, y esto lo repito constantemente, hagan un plan, un buen plan, no eviten, porque mucha gente dice, por querer hacer un plan perfecto, no hace nada. Entonces, mi lema es, tengan un plan y lo van perfeccionando, pero no dejen, por buscar un plan perfecto, no dejen de no hacerlo, ¿sí? No dejen de hacerlo, perdón. Entonces, eso es con los menores de edad, con el poder. ¿Quién puede administrar nuestros bienes? Cualquier persona, pero que tengamos plena confianza. Y estoy hablando de confianza, de que le podemos dar nuestra tarjeta de débito y quedar tranquilos, ¿sí? Entonces, cualquier persona que nosotros designemos puede actuar como agente.
Tiene que tener cierta edad, porque, por ejemplo, si designa a los hijos como para poner un nombre como persona asegurada, podría ser un menor de edad, si es en
No,
caso de que ese hijo sea menor.
debería ser una persona mayor de 18 años, sí. Ese es un buen tema, sí. Algo muy bien esa aclaración. Mayores de 18 porque deben aceptar y tienen que tener legalmente la autoridad de administrar bienes. Entonces, preferiblemente una persona que sea mayor de 18. Ahora, en una cuenta bancaria se los pueden agregar a los hijos. También ahí hay que ver, depende a veces de quién toca en el banco, pero deberían ser mayores de 18 también. Y entiendo que piden IDs para agregar a una persona en las cuentas bancarias y eso, como les venía diciendo, con las propiedades, con las casas, con las cuentas bancarias lo mismo. A veces es bueno agregar a uno de nuestros hijos si es que hay mucha confianza y sabemos que es responsable, pero a veces es mejor no agregarlos, ya que uno le da acceso directo y quizás hacer un poder con límites en las cláusulas, o sea, limitando su actuar, ¿sí? También, y esto quiero que quede muy claro, depende del caso concreto. Esto es como darle un remedio, no hay un remedio general. Depende de las familias, de las dinámicas de las familias. Cada familia tiene diferentes situaciones. Tienen hijos que son muy organizados, que cuidan a los padres, otros tienen unos que son mixtos, algunos sí, algunos hijos no, otros tienen hijos con necesidades especiales, otros tienen solamente menores de edad. O sea que ahí tenemos que cambiar la estrategia que vamos a utilizar. Esto depende de cada una de las familias. Y hay clientes míos que, por lo que estoy escuchando, no sé, mis hijos no me llaman, no están, pero ellos tienen estatus. Bueno, no es la mejor opción hacer un poder, ¿sí? Pensemos en otra estrategia donde ustedes no pierdan tanto poder. Es redundante, pero no dar tanto poder, sino limitar el acceso de ciertos familiares. Entonces, depende del caso, depende de cada familia.
Perfecto, muchísimas gracias. Pia, ¿podría compartir ejemplos de situaciones en las que sus clientes tenían documentos que los protegían o por el contrario, que les habrían ayudado si hubieran sabido cómo prepararse mejor?
Sí, tengo tantos. Por ejemplo, tuve una de que no hubo preparación, una mamá soltera, el papá no estaba involucrado con los niños, o sea, ella ya tenía custodia y fue detenida. Fue a un centro de detención con 3 hijitos menores de edad. Ahí no tenía el poder, el acta poder para el cuidado de menores de edad. Por suerte el consulado me contactó, les di el consulado de esta persona me contacta, le doy el documento, lo llenan ellos, les digo cómo los tienen que llenar. Ahora es muy difícil, ellos tienen obviamente poder diplomático, pueden saber qué va a pasar o cuándo, pero lo transfirieron a otro centro de detención y solamente tuvieron 2 horas de notificación, entonces la cosa se complicó. ¿Qué pasó? Había 3 niños menores de edad con la posibilidad, la madre de ella vivía acá en Estados Unidos y tenía estatus legal. Entonces, habiendo realizado este poder, el acta poder, designando a la abuela, a la mamá, como tutora de estos menores, cuando no tiene ni siquiera un límite de tiempo, o sea, no es solamente por un año, ella queda indefinidamente designada por este poder como tutora, hubiese resuelto tantos problemas que tuvimos que pasar y el estrés de hacer esta planificación, no sabiendo si iba a poder ser exitoso. Pero bueno, la buena noticia es que se firmó, esta persona fue repatriada y bueno, la abuela se quedó con este documento. Algo que fue muy estresante se podría haber resuelto simplemente en 15, media hora para preparar este documento y firmarlo con anticipación. También he visto casos de que por no tener documentos las cuentas bancarias quedaron congeladas, casas entraron en foreclosure y bueno, los niños también terminaron en custodia temporal. Yo siempre digo que la diferencia entre ambos escenarios no es el dinero, es la información y la preparación. Entonces, algo que quisiera que se lleven de este podcast es que hay muchas cosas que están fuera de nuestro control, específicamente con inmigración. Este año fue una montaña rusa, están pasando cosas que nos esperábamos, pero una magnitud incluso más grave de lo que nos imaginábamos. Pero todavía tienen herramientas legales, existen las herramientas legales para minimizar, para controlar los daños que eso puede producir. Entonces, hay cosas que están fuera de control de nosotros, pero esto específicamente está bajo el control de cada uno de las personas que nos están escuchando. Entonces, mi invitación es, planifiquen, no importa el estatus legal, no importa si hay, por ejemplo, si tienen bienes, si tienen hijos menores de edad, si tienen un negocio. Con el negocio se generan muchos problemas cuando uno de los socios tiene que regresar al país de origen, entonces no se puede continuar con las operaciones del negocio. Entonces, planifiquen porque eso va a asegurar que sus derechos estén amparados y que sobre todo sus familias estén cuidadas, sus bienes estén protegidos después de trabajar tan duro acá en este país y que sus negocios puedan continuar operando.
Claro, claro. Y por eso, perdón, para nosotros se nos hizo muy importante tenerlo en nuestro show, porque hablamos mucho sobre la planificación de inmigración, tener el G28, el G28 firmado con su abogado, pero cuando y eso es como más es presente lo de las redadas, pero no pensamos mucho en las consecuencias de lo que puede suceder ya estando en detención o deportados. Entonces, muchas gracias por esa información. Antes de que terminemos con este segmento, quería preguntarle, y creo que tomé un poco, hablo sobre eso, pero quería preguntar si hay algo que le gustaría que todos supieran sobre la importancia de tener sus asuntos en orden. ¿Qué sería?
Sí, una cosita que estuve hablando en caso de deportación, ¿verdad? Pero puede pasar cualquier situación en la vida. Puede ser incapacidad, puede ser que yo hoy esté hablando con ustedes y en una hora tengo una ACV, entonces dejar las cosas planificadas, y también puede ser muerte. Entonces, si bien me enfoqué mucho en el tema relacionado a la parte de migración, este es un tema que abarca la vida, ¿sí? Es un tema que yo estaba dando una presentación y me dicen, pero estos documentos son por si las dudas, me dice alguien de la audiencia. Y le digo, la verdad que no. Un testamento, por ejemplo, que es un documento para muerte, es un documento que va a entrar a corte, es un documento que en algún momento, ojalá que sea de aquí a 50 años para mí, para ustedes mucho más, pero va a entrar a corte. Este documento va a regir. No sé cuándo, no sabemos cuándo, algunas veces podemos anticiparlo, pero si hay algo que sabemos es que algún día vamos a fallecer. No hay inmortalidad, por lo menos no hasta el momento. Entonces, estos documentos es muy importante tenerlos porque no es como hacer un contrato, hay incumplimiento o puede haber cumplimiento. Acá sabemos que vamos a necesitar estos documentos. Entonces, para cerrar, ¿qué me gustaría que sepan todos? Es que prepararse no significa que algo malo vaya a pasar. Eso es típico de la comunidad hispana, bueno, latina, que dice, ay, no quiero hablar de eso, porque si no algo malo pasa. No, no significa eso. Significa que amas y proteges a tu familia, ¿sí? Tener documentos legales básico es un acto de responsabilidad y el amor. Yo siempre les digo a mis clientes, lo que ustedes están haciendo es el acto de amor más importante, es la manera de expresar nuestro amor para nuestros seres queridos. No se trata de estatus migratorio, se trata de protección y tranquilidad para quienes queremos.
Muchas gracias, Pia. Y en pantalla queremos compartir unos documentos que nos mandó sobre qué es lo que tienen que tener a la mano o planear en caso de deportación. Esos recursos los vamos a tener también en nuestra página web, donde pueden encontrar, leerlos bien, y si tienen cualquier pregunta, también contactarse con la abogada Pia. Entonces, ¿se puede hablar un poco más sobre lo que está dentro del paquete?
Bueno, ese documento para las personas que son visuales, yo prefiero leer que escuchar. Acá tienen como un resumen de lo que estuvimos hablando hoy. Básicamente, qué documentos importantes, básicos, necesitamos tener para una emergencia. Emergencia ya sea deportación, emergencia ya sea incapacidad y emergencia ya sea hablar de muerte, ¿sí? Entonces, el primero es un poder notarial para menores, que es lo que empezamos nuestra conversación. Después tenemos el poder de administración y disposición, que era cómo proteger los bienes y los que le estaban comentando de que hay que tener mucho cuidado, como dice ahí el documento, mucho cuidado con la persona que designamos en nuestro poder. También hay otras estrategias, como dice el número 3, planificación para propiedades. Tienes una casa, tienes inversiones, cuáles son las estrategias que existen. Ahí, si queremos dejar más controlado, vamos a hablar de un fideicomiso, los famosos trusts. Hay muchos tipos de trusts. Y por último, el cuarto es en caso de una empresa. Tienen empresas, bueno, no olvidarse que también hay que planificar para su continuidad. ¿Qué pasa si uno de los socios, el mismo dueño a veces es simplemente 100% dueño? ¿Qué pasa si no puede actuar, no puede operar? ¿Cuáles son las herramientas legales para asegurarnos que la empresa continúe operando? Y por último, también tengo otro documento que van a estar en sus resources, que es la delegación de autoridad parental en Georgia. Eso es específicamente cuando vamos a designar a los abuelos como guardianes de el poder, el acta poder, como lo llama la comunidad, el Power of Attorney for the Care of Minors, cuando vamos a nominar a los abuelos. Entonces, ese documento específicamente habla de eso. Entonces, para aquellos que tengan a los padres viviendo aquí en Estados Unidos, por alguna razón, ya sea por un hermano, papá o mamá tienen estatus legal, este es un documento que pueden dejar para que los abuelos legalmente sean tutores de nuestros hijos menores de edad. Entonces, no es este documento que menciona, no es el documento legal, pero es el documento que menciona ese archivo, ese PDF, ese artículo. Y les acabo de mandar, no lo pueden presentar en pantalla, pero se llama una carta a mis seres queridos, un As a Love Letter. Los invito a que también lo bajen y ahí pueden completar información importante que todas deberíamos dejar para en caso de una emergencia.
Muchas gracias y lo tendremos todo en nuestra página web galeo.org para que esté disponible a los miembros de nuestra comunidad. Pia, antes de despedirnos, quería preguntar si alguien está interesado de hacer una carta de poder con usted, un legal guardianship, un trust, un will, etcétera, un testamento, ¿cómo se pueden comunicar con usted? Página web, teléfono, etcétera.
Tenemos un teléfono que tiene WhatsApp, contestan en español, en inglés, en portugués. El número es 470-510-7646, 470-510-7646. También pueden ir a la página, que la acabamos de cambiar, remodelar un poquito, es candottilaw.com y trato Ahora va a ser más activa la parte de marketing porque ya pero trato de mantener actualizado Instagram y Facebook también con eventos que vamos participando y de nuevo, comuníquense con nosotros por teléfono, por WhatsApp, si es que lo que más usan, texto, llamada, y nosotros le podemos dar información sobre las fechas para la creación de los poderes para menores de edad en forma gratuita. Es tan triste que a veces vamos, una vez fuimos todo mi equipo como voluntarios y solamente hicimos muy poquitos, 3 poderes. Y me fui a la sala de espera del consulado para hablarle a la gente, vengan, aprovechen, acá hay abogados, hagan sus poderes en forma gratuita, estos son importantes. Entonces, sepan que están esos recursos y por favor utilícenlos.
Claro, claro, y también de una manera no tan obvia, vamos a hacer nuestra parte por compartirlo a nuestra comunidad. Muchas gracias, Pia. Aprendí mucho y eso que ya es como la segunda o tercera vez que hablo con usted y aún así me asombro de todo lo que se relaciona con planificación ¿se llama? De estado, de state.
Sí,
La persona. Espero volver a tenerle en nuestro show o volver a colaborar con usted en el futuro.
Muchas gracias por la invitación. Para mí es un placer estar aquí con ustedes. Y felicitaciones por todo su compromiso y todo lo que están haciendo por la comunidad.
Muchas gracias. Igual. Y regresamos con el Pueblo Unido.
And we're back to our section of Latinos en Acción. Thank you so much, Jonathan Peraza and Adamari, for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the space.
Yes, and pretty much Latinos in Acción is our segment when we highlight individuals, organizations that take that role within the community and try to elevate and try to motivate people that want to get involved. So we'll always start with Adamari. What do you consider yourself as being a leader in your community?
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I consider myself a community organizer. I organize currently with Escuelitas in the Atlanta chapter of ARE, which is the Association of Raza Educators. We focus on organizing for families to give them resources and giving them space to know about education and like outside of the system, outside of how that looks like, giving them resources in political education, ethnic studies, and also give them resources in tutoring for the kids. And we collaborate with other organizations to make a lot of things happen.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, it's very important. I mean, we have seen how our community has been attacked with this administration. So having all those resources and information, Jonathan, I know that Ramses is one of our organizers at GALEO. He's the one that recommended me, but give us your take on Escuelitas or the education of Raza.
Yeah, so education is a human right. Education is something that all of our communities have always cared about so deeply. But the education system that our kids go through, that we've all experienced, was never built with us in mind, was never built with equity for our communities, with access and opportunity for our communities in mind. And there are so many things lacking in Southern education systems, in Georgia, the Georgia education system, but really just nationally, about what Latino, Indigenous, and people of color communities deserve. And so Escuelitas was founded kind of as an intervention to give a space, create a space where our kids learn their history, who they are. Our parents also learn it so that they can instill pride, orgullo in our culture, our history into their kids, so that kids can experience a different educational experience that empowers them and helps them develop as change agents when our school system isn't prepared or willing to do that for our children, especially our Latino and indigenous children and children of color. And so Escuelitas is that space it's modeled after many freedom schools throughout history to create that. And then Atlanta Association of Raza Educators kind of flowed out of Escuelitas because we wanted to create a space for our parents, our kids, and their teachers to work together to fight for the things that our kids do deserve in the school system, while Escuelitas allows us to practice it and imagine it independently of institutions so that we can really dream up and practice the things missing in the education that our community deserves.
That's great. I'm sure you have had a great positive response for the community because, as you mentioned, la comunidad responde positivamente cuando ofrecen esos recursos. So I know we have some pictures for our viewers that Jonathan, Adamari, you can tell us a little bit of story of what's happened, so our listeners, if they can see the great benefits that you're doing, all the great work. So I see this one is Escuelitas at Emory.
Yeah, so I mean, we have really been able to bring a lot of experiences to our Buford Highway families and students. The Escuelitas at Emory trip was when we had I think either our first or second field trip, where we took our Escuelitas families that have engaged with us over the last 5 years. We took them on a trip to learn the Native American history and Mayan history. The Native American history of Georgia, of what is now called Georgia, the original people of this land, learning their history, their culture, as well as getting to see kind of an exhibit about Mayan history and culture. We've been able to work with university partners, professors like Dr. Emil Keme at Emory, who have really become a bridge between higher education and our Freedom School to really help our kids and our families learn that, our ancestors have been here for thousands of years on this continent. Before there were citizenship, before there were immigration laws, indigenous people were here first. This is still indigenous land. And this field trip was one way that we helped our beautiful brown-skinned children connect with their relatives of different pueblos indígenas on this land, and that they are connected to ancestrally and culturally as well. No sé si quieres agregar, Dami, o platicar de este.
Yeah, I particularly loved this field trip because, in the system, or I guess in our community, these places, they're perceived as like untangible, right? Or like people that a certain level or in a certain academia assist or that they can enjoy. But kind of breaking through these barriers and making it for them, build an experience for them, and then we can implement, multi-generational, which is showing up as a whole family unit. All of the kids, they can get the knowledge, the joy that those community experience can only offer whenever we keep each other's experiences in mind. And so offering that to the children, an opportunity to have joy, to learn and be connected with their roots, and also for their parents, their elders, to be reminded of who they are, where they come from, how powerful we are, and how we have resisted throughout so many generations because we are so rich, right? But because of migration, sometimes in the system would push to assimilate and would push to forget. And so these particularly session, it was amazing because everyone was fulfilled, all the kids were full of joy, and the parents had a great time.
And then this picture, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, like, it is a great segue because, as you mentioned, we brought the entire family. Our younger generations do need that resource and need that support, but at the same time, having a foundation of a family, everyone involved, parents, teachers, kids, right? So if this picture, it is something with parents, I'm assuming.
Well, this picture actually is kind of demonstrating our Asian American studies work that has been growing as well. Because we are based on Beaufort Highway, we organize on Beaufort Highway, and we've organized very successfully and extensively with Spanish-speaking and Mayan language-speaking communities on Beaufort Highway, Latino and Mayan communities. But we also know that Beaufort Highway and the immigrant population of Georgia is also very Asian American. There's many Asian ethnicities, languages present in our Beaufort Highway neighborhood and throughout Georgia. And here, one of our leaders, Miss Vivian Dow, who's another school teacher and a teacher with Escuelitas, she was a panelist after we were invited as Escuelitas, the teacher and organizer team, to experience the Heart Sellers play with one of our partners, East by Southeast. And Vivian Dow was helping to talk about Escuelitas and the work that we do, but also the importance of connecting all of our histories together. Latinos, indigenous peoples, African Americans, the African diaspora, and the Asian diaspora, all of our histories are tied together, we're tangled together. And Vivian was talking about, the roots of imperialism, of white supremacy, of colonialism, and how that's influenced migrations. And so our educational programs haven't just been with families, it's also been front-facing, talking to other people about the work that we do and the importance of creating educational spaces like Escuelitas, and the importance of ethnic studies, including Asian American studies, which Vivian and Dr. Chris Su were talking about in this panel after the Heart Sellers play.
Then we have the next picture. Damari, would you mind sharing?
Yes, I believe this was a session. Was this the free clinic?
I don't think so. I think this was one of our normal sessions. We were talking about Black and Latino solidarity.
Yes, I believe I wasn't there, but I remember building the curriculum in which, within the system, we've been taught to be against each other, and separate us, categorize us, build this taboo and stereotypes about each other that eventually they make us weaker as a community, as el pueblo, ¿verdad? Nos mantiene separados, y lamentablemente vemos mucho como el individualismo ha afectado en nuestras comunidades, y esta lección fue como para dar un paso más acerca de abrir esa conversación when it comes to solidarity between each other, realizing that your problems are my problems, and we're here to, dar la mano a todo el mundo and give each other I don't know if you want to, sorry, I'm blanking out right now.
Oh, you're fine. 'Cause the next, I believe the next pictures we have, it is, this one, Jonathan, is this the group of Escuelitas?
Yeah, this is just part of our community, part of our teacher and organizer group. We're really proud that we're a multiracial, multi-ethnic, multilingual group. We started working with Latino and indigenous communities on Beaufort Highway, but we have expanded. We are a group of over 20 people who, this is not a job, this is our passion, this is a labor of love, and we get together and we get to collaborate with many organizations to make sure that we provide programming, know your rights workshops, anything that community is asking for, anything that community needs. These are just some of the faces of the leaders in our organization, of muchas edades, different ethnicities, different languages in the Asian American, Latino, and indigenous community, that come together to make sure that our community can really work toward our dignity, our liberation together through educational programming.
And I think the next picture is when there's a group giving. Oh, this is another of the Escuelitas group. And for our listeners that they don't know, when we mention Beaufort Highway, it's not just a road, right? Like it's not just. It is a bloodline of multicultural, so many vibrant communities within that area, right? But we just start calling it Beaufort Highway. I think the next picture is a. Oh, okay. Oh, tell me more, Jonathan.
This is another one of our teacher leaders. So Adamari was talking about a workshop where one of our teacher leaders, Andrea, was leading the discussion. Here's another one of our teacher leaders, Gina. We're a group of many school teachers and people that we trained to be teachers for our programs. And Gina is one of our leaders that has been supporting a lot of this programming and just showing our rituals that kind of center on respeto para nuestros mayores y antepasados y respeto para los jóvenes y los más chiquitos, because we all have knowledge and wisdom to pass up and pass down to each other across generations. And she's modeling one of those rituals for us here.
Beautiful. And next picture. Adamari,
is this... Hi. Yes. Wow. Full room.
Yes.
As you can see, this is one of the models that we follow, right? This is what Escuelita's session usually goes. After being in one room with everyone, we consolidate, we give a poem. It's called In La Quech. It's rooted in love for each other, respect for each other, and solidarity. After we do that, we all spread out, and the parents are together in this room, and they receive their whatever we're doing for that lesson, whether that is the history of of Mayan or the World War, the genocide that happened in Guatemala, or whether we're doing the solidarity between Black and Latino Black and immigrant communities.
It's a debrief room and to see other segments. And for our listeners that want to get involved, Jonathan, how can they reach out, or if they need help?
You can reach out to our Instagrams. If you want to reach out to Escuelitas and get involved with Escuelitas, follow us on Instagram at Escuelitas on Buhai. If you want to get more involved in the education justice organizing with teachers, parents, and students, follow us on Instagram at atl.are, A-R-E. And you feel free to email us at our email escuelitasforfuture@gmail.com as well.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan, for the resources. And we'll also have them at our GALEO website, and we'll have them for everyone to find out more about it. Adamari, thank you for joining us. Any parting words that you would like to give to our listeners?
Yeah, please. If you feel called for this type of work and community, please join us. You can follow us in our social media at Escuelitas River Highway and also Atlanta Are. We have many ways to help because, as you can see in the pictures, it's not only Jonathan and I, it's like a broad network of about 50 people that we give all the commitment that we can, right? We have levels of commitment, which is high, medium, and low. And it's all up to you, whatever you can give, because no help is big or small, right? Help is all that we can get. It's all that we need in community. And so if you feel called for this, please reach out to our social media and let's just keep creating more solidarity between each other.
Yes, beautiful. Jonathan?
We would love to have more of our community members that want to learn how to teach an empowering curriculum and be a part of a group of people dedicated not just to teaching and programming, but mutual aid and support of our undocumented and multilingual immigrant of color communities along Beaufort Highway and beyond. So Escuelitas is one way to get involved through education. If you want to get involved in organizing to make our school systems safer for immigrant communities and responsive to the needs of Latino, Indigenous, and people of color communities in our school systems, feel free to ask us about Atlanta Are as well to join the fight for the schools that all of our communities deserve.
Thank you so much, Adamari. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And yes, everyone that wants to get involved, reach out. Again, we'll have the resources available. But yes, Adamari, Jonathan, Escuelitas, and ATL Association of RASTA Educators. Thank you so much for being in El Pueblo Unido. We'll be right
Thank
back.
you so much.
Thank you.
And we're back. Hola, hola, friends. Gracias por estar ahí con nosotros otra vez. Tu Vences Jiménez, como mata las orejas, la pinche política. And today we're talking to a trailblazer who's been working for the Latino community for a year and who recently made history as the first Latina elected to Roswell City Council. Bienvenida y felicidades, Councilwoman Erin Brumley.
Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes, wherever you're hearing this. Gracias por esa introducción. Thank you for introducing me.
Pues, gracias por estar con nosotros. Para nuestra gente que that's meeting you for the first time, ¿quién es Erin Brumley? ¿De dónde eres y qué te traes aquí?
¿Quién es Erin Brumley? So I was born in Mazatlan, Mexico, and I lived there until I was around 22. I went to school there. My whole family lives there. So I'm the only one here, well, with the exception of my husband and my kids. I had the privilege and luck to be selected for a Georgia Rotary Scholarship here in 1993. And I went to West Georgia College at that time for a year. And that's how I started in Georgia. It was a great program. I met a lot of people, learned a lot about the United States and about Georgia, and then went back to Mexico to graduate. And then I married a guy who was here in Roswell. So after I finished college, I came back, and that's why we relocated to this area. He had grown here. I've worked on information technology for 31 years. That was my my major. I started at Tec de Monterrey, Mazatlan. And so, you know, as my children were older, I started to, I always volunteer in all their, you know, schools and plays and scouting and all that. But after they went to high school and they were more self-sufficient, I started doing a lot of volunteering with, you know, nonprofits. I also became a poll worker for Fulton County. And, you know, I started getting a little bit more involved in different areas of politics and city council. And, you know, and then things started snowballing from there.
Oh, that's amazing. And becoming the first Latino elected in Roswell City Council is like not easy at all, especially, you know, historically.
Yes, there was a gentleman who was also Hispanic, but of course he was a male person. And so yes, overall, I'm the second Latin American person in council. Roswell is around 20% Latino, so we're not like a super majority here, but there are a lot of Latino residents. So, you know, it's great that we have representation here. And I always tell everybody, I'm not a Latina in council. I'm a council member who just happened to be Latina. And so it's both my identities, and I hope to represent, you know, all the community in there. But yeah, definitely it's great that we have some representation. I'm very proud and very, I just hope I don't get anybody down.
Well, you're already there, so you're already representing what many other people had never seen in their life, just before you as well. So it's amazing. But you haven't stopped. You've been a trailblazer all your life. The Tec de Monterrey, Georgia Rotary Program, and earning your degree in business computer systems, and then volunteering. Now you're a servant councilwoman. Y nunca paras. Se ve que siempre estás like doing something, right?
Yeah. The joke is that I'm a serial volunteer. You know, so I started going. But
that's a good thing.
It came from how I was growing up. My parents always were also very involved in the community, especially through church. In when I was growing up, through church and school, and I just think that instilled me a sense of, hey, you know, this could be one of my hobbies. I mean, I have other hobbies, but you know, like this could be something that is good, is fulfilling, and I am very lucky to be in a position that I can help. You know, because not everybody, a lot of people would want to help, but they don't have as much time, you know, or as much resources to do it. So if it can be me, I'll do it.
And what has life been for you navigating through these spaces where like it's not historically inclusive, from your going to college, even when you study, and just even getting here on that Rotary program.
Yeah, so I think I also have the added obstacle of being a woman, especially for IT, for example. I was, one of the few women when I was at West Georgia. I was one of 3 women in the whole computer science program. And as well as my career, I really was an oddity being, like a software consultant and architect. Being a woman, it wasn't very common, and even more so a Hispanic woman. So, so definitely I've navigated those spaces. And as far as politics, I mean, still you see it. You see that people are pushing back against people of color and especially immigrants, right? Because I'm not just a Latino, I'm also an immigrant. I'm a U.S. citizen. I became a citizen in 1999.
Congrats.
And a lot of people at higher levels, they don't understand that it's important to have people like us who are recent citizens to be fully part of the political discussions everywhere. And it's a human nature, right? If you're there, you want to stay there. You usually don't want to have others come into the fold. But again, I just kept working for the community and show them that, it's not a matter of just me, it's for everybody. And it worked.
Definitely. We saw the numbers, 2025, more than 21,000 voters turned out in your election.
Yes.
And that's over 6,400 more than in 2021. So
absolutely,
that's a huge jump, and kudos to you. What were people telling you at the doors, or like, why were they motivated to come out and vote?
So I think Roswell in the last 4 years, especially the last 2 years, has gone through many changes that most of the residents were not happy with. I've been going to city council meetings for many years, and even I started seeing it, started giving public comment and kind of pushing back on some of the projects and some of the financial decisions that were made in the city. And, and that's basically what we saw at the doors. I started going to the doors, and to those people who knew about these things, I would, share that I also, was aware of those decisions and how I was not agreeing with them. But also to those who didn't know, then I would tell them, they're doing this, they're doing that. Do you think that's good? Do you think it's not that? So it was I think that was one of the biggest things of why the turnout was so large. It was just like people were just not happy with the way that the city was going forward, and they voted accordingly to have new people coming in. And I mean, because pretty much 4 of us, we're all 4 new. The 4 of us are new.
Well, they didn't go to a runoff, right? It just went straight ahead.
Not my post. The mayor went to a runoff. That one did.
Means, they were ready for you.
Oh, yes. Yes. And I mean, now that I'm here, and I said this during the campaign, I'm not here to just represent or advocate for those who voted for me. Once you are in a position, as a public servant, you are a public servant for everybody. They voted for you, they didn't vote for you, they didn't vote at all. I mean, little kids don't vote. Yes, they have to be represented. When I moved to Roswell, I had a green card, and we bought our first house when I was a green card. I wasn't even a citizen. I couldn't vote, but I was already an owner of a residence and a taxpayer. So my voice should have been listened anyway. But you see what I'm saying, right? Just because they're not your friends or whatever, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen and take their concerns seriously. You may not agree with them. The decision that you make may not be the one that they wanted, but I think everybody should be listening with respect.
Well, definitely. And I know you just began your first term, but I'm sure your constituents maybe have talked to you about maybe some ICE activity in the neighborhood. How do you see your role in responding to that concern? And is it in your one of your priorities, or?
Yeah, no, I actually have had multiple conversations with the police department regarding this issue, because again, I am making sure that everybody in Roswell feels safe. And it doesn't matter the immigration status, right? If somebody commits a crime and you have to report them, you should not be afraid to report them. because you don't have immigration status, or because the police is gonna have bias against you or something. So that is definitely one thing that I'm doing. I'm still I receive reports of suspicious activity, and I follow them up and make sure that things are going well. But again, I am in constant contact with the police department here in Georgia, and they have assured me that their goal is to protect all the residents regarding their Indonesian status.
That's amazing. See, that's what we need, people here representing us, going through those experiences gives you a whole new perspective, right? And last question for you, we're running out of time, but I love the conversation. For Latino folks listening right now who see the lack of representation in their communities, and maybe they want to start their own run for office, what would be the best piece of advice you can give them to start off?
I think the best piece of advice is know your people. I by volunteering, by visiting, different communities, by showing up to City Hall, I learn what my community needs, what my community wants. It's not always what I want, but knowing your people and knowing how to get them to use their skills to become more involved, so that when you ask for their help in your campaign, or when you ask for their help to help you get to office, they have seen that you work, they have seen that you've been in there, and they are able to help you. So I definitely and train. There are a lot of places that will train people of color, women, immigrants, to learn how to run for office, because it is a skill. There are things that you should know that will give you an advantage over somebody who doesn't know, or just they're just doing it for the vibes or whatever. So yeah, take advantage of all the education that is like, I know GALEO has a leadership program, but there's other organizations in Georgia that will do it as well. And so learn and know your people.
Perfect. Great last words from Councilwoman Erin Brumley. Thank you again for being with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining La Pinche Política. I'm Ramses Jimenez. Y recuerden, 3 out of 5 Latinos in Georgia are citizens, most under 21. Just que el futuro está aquí. Register to vote. It's quick and easy. We have over luego, rápido, 5 minutos. And we have over 1 million Latinos in Georgia, but only 500,000 eligible to vote. That means our vote counts for 2 people. Votamos por nosotros, por nuestras abuelitas, nuestra mamá, nuestra familia, que no importe en tu vida. Por eso estamos votando. Tenemos el poder en las manos. ¿Por qué? Porque somos el Pueblo Unido. We'll be right back.
All right, and we're back. And oh, what amazing episode. I know that people are going to enjoy great information. And we want to thank again to all our special guests that help and continue sharing the information. We got Patrick Adams, Pia Candotti.
We also had Jonathan and Ana Maria Reyes, Dr. Tara Overzat, and of course, Councilwoman Brumley. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your knowledge about what we can do in this during these times, and how to help ourselves now and in the future.
And as we've been mentioning since the start of the show, please don't forget to take care of yourselves, take care of your communities, your families, your friends. Don't forget the breathing exercises that we did. It's just 1 or 2 minutes for yourself. And if you did them with us here at the episode, you'll feel so much better afterwards. So and
it's a great way to start the day, or if you're feeling
definitely,
stressed, just take that 1 or 2 minutes.
Ground yourself.
definitely. So please continue to follow us if you do so already, and if you don't, follow us on socials. We are at GALEO.org on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. And we are I Am GALEO on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And you can also follow our sister organization, GALEO Impact Fund, on all of the previously mentioned socials at GALEO Impact Fund for many more resources on how to take care of yourselves, take care of your communities, continue advocating for the Latino community here in Georgia and throughout the United States. So
Yes,
thank
stay
you all so
updated
much. Yes.
for our newer episodes. And again, if the community has any feedbacks, questions, something that they would like to see, or somebody that would like to highlight on our future podcast, you can always send them our way.
Yes, and don't forget to have your G28, your power of attorney, your local councilwoman on
All that
standby.
important information.
Yes, before just to prepare for anything. So with that, thank you guys for being with us today. It was a very impactful segment today, and we hope that we see you in March. So with that, somos el Pueblo Unido.
Y jamás
Y
será
jamás
vencido.
será vencido.
Jamás será vencido.